Hello, I'm Eric Carpella, and today I'll be talking about stem cell research. And my main claim is that further research on stem cells will benefit the medical field greatly. In this speech, I'll be going over what stem cells are, why they're beneficial to the medical world, and new research being conducted to prove the relevancy of stem cell research, along with cases of stem cell treatment and common misconceptions about stem cells. First, I'll be talking about what stem cells are. They are different from other cell types in two distinct ways. First, they are unspecialized cells capable of renewing themselves through cell division. Second, under certain physiologic and experimental conditions, they can be induced to become tissue or organ-specific cells with special functions. There are two types of stem cells, embryonic and adult. Embryonic stem cells are in the blastocysts, and they divide and develop into specific tissues and organs that are found in every human body. Embryonic stem cells can be generated in the lab also in a process called cell culture. This is where they're generated by transferring cells from an embryo or a 5-day-old blastocyst into a petri dish, and the cells then divide and spread. Adult stem cells, however, are found in the skin, liver, bone marrow, and muscles of adults, or basically any human that is full grown. Unlike embryonic stem cells, adult stem cells cannot grow into virtually any cell type because adult stem cells have certain pathways. They are also rare, difficult to detect, and hard to isolate. Scientists and researchers see infinite value in using stem cells to understand human development and growth and treatment of diseases. Now I'll be discussing why stem cell research is beneficial to the medical world. Stem cells are unspecialized and can renew through cell division for longer durations, and they can also be manipulated and become any cell the scientist codes for. According to the Mayo Clinic, stem cells can grow into 210 different types of cells in the human body. There are also many treatments that result from stem cell research and can be used to replace neurons damaged by spinal cord injury, stroke, Alzheimer's, and even Parkinson's disease. They can also produce insulin that could treat people with diabetes, and they also have the power to replace virtually any tissue or organ that is injured or diseased. One of the biggest positives of using stem cells is that they can be used to treat cancer patients. During chemotherapy, most growing cells are killed by cytotoxic agents from the radiation from the chemo, and stem cells help renew those cells after chemo has taken place. Inserting stem cells into the brain has also been proven to cure cancerous tumors. These organs can also be grown from scratch in the lab using stem cells and then used in transplants. This can greatly reduce the waiting list for patients waiting on organ donors, and in turn will save many lives. The New England Journal of Medicine confirms that stem cells from the blood of umbilical cords of newborns are an effective transplant source for leukemia patients. Umbilical cords are normally thrown away because most do not understand the benefits of using the cords for treatment, and this extraction of the blood from the umbilical cords does not harm the baby whatsoever. There is also new research on stem cells that proves the relevancy of continuous stem cell research. Two scientists were recently able to produce stem cell replicas from human skin cells. Jun-Ying Yu from the Genome Center of Wisconsin and biologist James Thompson were able to turn 4 genes into skin cells. The team got 1 pluripotent stem cell from every 10,000 cells created, which basically means that 1 out of every 10,000 stem cells they created was a working active stem cell, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's kind of impressive. There are also advantages to using these reprogrammed skin cells for therapeutic purposes. They can be used to produce user-specific cells, and immune system rejection is not an issue since it's been hosted by an active body already. Now I'll be talking about some cases where stem cell treatment has proved to be successful where other treatment methods have failed. Gordie Howe, a legend in the world of hockey, recently received stem cell treatment. Last year, he suffered from a severe stroke that left him paralyzed on his right side and almost ended his life. With no other option, Gordie and his family went to Tijuana, Mexico to receive the stem cell treatment because that was the only place they could find it, working like today or this year. And in as little as 8 hours after the treatment, Gordie was up and walking around his hospital room. Another case was back in 1993 when Dr. Joanne Kurtzberg of the Duke University Medical Center was able to cure acute lymphoblastic leukemia. She used the blood from umbilical cords, as I stated earlier, and the patient was cured within 2 days of the treatment. Now I'll be discussing some common misconceptions about stem cell research. Embryonic stem cells do not have to come from aborted fetuses. That, of course, is a source that can happen, but that rarely ever happens, and it's not actually legal according to the FDA, or not the FDA. They are also commonly extracted from 4 to 5-day-old lab-fertilized blastocysts, as opposed to aborted fetuses. Another misconception is that stem cell research goes against the Catholic Church, which is also false. The Catholic Church opposes the destruction of embryos, but very few stem cells come from embryos, and therefore very few instances in stem cell research destroy embryos. The former Pope Benedict XVI actually spoke out in favor of stem cell research. In conclusion, further research of stem cells and application of these stem cell methods will benefit the medical world greatly, and stem cells provide a great amount of treatments and assets essential to the medical world.
All right, Eric, you identify what the claim is, but I'm not sure there's any dispute on the claim, and the secondary claims that you present sound expository in nature. This really sounds more like an informative speech. The controversy on stem cell research you identify in that third point is the place in which there was some contention. Now, if there's an argument that says that stem cell research doesn't require the destruction of embryos, that's, I think, where your argument needs to be developed. Otherwise, you've said it yourself in the last point, there's not really any controversy on this, that you don't have, I mean, you kind of contradict the point in a couple of spaces. You don't have to destroy an embryo. They've produced pluripotent cells from adult stem cells, which contradicts the thing that you had on the first point. So if we can do those two things and we don't have to destroy the embryonic stem cells, I don't know anybody who thinks that there's a problem with doing stem cell research. So where's the controversy here? Mostly what you have described is the kind of general background information on research that is being done in this particular field. The effectiveness of any of that research, I think there might be some discussion about that and whether or not we are at the point where we can say that we can cure diseases. You've got 2 or 3 examples that are pretty particular. However, making a generalization from a singular example is often problematic. The idea that we can cure leukemia from the umbilical cord stem cells that are being put in place. Well, in 1993 they did that. I'm assuming then that this kind of leukemia no longer exists because that's 25 years ago, and we've got substantial, well, not 25, 22 years ago, but we've got substantial amount of research since then, and I would assume that there's not any demonstration that umbilical cord stem cells are lacking or in a short supply, so I'm assuming that that's all working and in place. If that's not the case, then maybe you can explain why that is not happening, and maybe that's where your controversy is. I do think that you need to cite sources a little bit more consistently. There are a couple of places where you cited information, but it's not very consistent. We got a lot of places where it says scientists report or it's believed. For example, there's one place where you list a whole bunch of diseases that could potentially be treated by stem cell research without necessarily demonstrating that any of them are being treated, and I don't know exactly where that information comes from. It does feel sometimes like you were rushing a little bit through the presentation. Like I said, I think the issue here is still focusing on what is in dispute on this particular point, and you've given us mostly expository information that's background on the subject as opposed to focusing in and where is the controversy on this. The application of the Brock-Reedy model is what's, I think, lacking here. All right, thank you.